What if there is a way that you could create content at scale while expanding your network and positioning you as the expert? Well, in this episode of Marketing Domination, I'm going to show you a content strategy that I believe very few people are leveraging. And if you do, it will take your business to the next level and help you dominate online. Welcome to Marketing Domination. So as we continue on our series about marketing domination, we talked obviously first about building your sales funnel. And now we're in phase 2, which is about filling your sales funnel and different ways that we can drive traffic to this amazing thing that we built. Because like we said, just because you build it does not mean people will come and show up. And on the episode today, I want to share with you a content strategy that when you hear it at first, don't shut me out. I want you to hear the whole episode and definitely at the end until I tell you the secret leverage strategy that people aren't using with this. But I believe this is the best bang for your buck. Anyone can do it. And I'm going to show you several examples of how it can be leveraged. And it is this for your content strategy. I think for professional service-based businesses, honestly, most businesses, especially ones that serve a local market, video podcasting is the greatest opportunity that you have for content creation and for driving traffic to your sales funnel. Now, I know what you're thinking right now, like, there's no way I'm going to start a podcast, or I'm from a small city. Who's going to listen to my podcast? Hear me out, because whenever we're talking about this process of creating content via video podcasting, I want you to reframe your mind on what your expectations are of a video podcast. So to kind of set the groundwork, instead of thinking about it as a traditional video podcast, like you might think like the Joe Rogan Experience, right? Like one of the largest podcasts of all time, video podcasts of all time. Instead of thinking of it that way, I want you to more so think of it as a style of content to create. Because if you think about how you're probably doing it now, one, are you even doing a consistent content strategy on social media? Most small businesses are not doing it consistent. And if you are, think about the amount of time, effort, and energy it takes to create tons of short form video content and all the different pieces that you're collateral that you're creating for your social platforms. This is why I love video podcast, is because it is the best return on your investment of your greatest asset, which is your time. So this is how you know what a video podcast is. I want to show you how I think most small business owners should create one and leverage it. So first off, this is what I would want to do is I think that you should have a show that is around your niche. So if you are let's say a functional medicine provider, a medical spa owner, a plumber, roofer, or anything like that, you should create a show that you can film in 30 minutes or less each week that positions you as the expert. Imagine that you're able to just sit down for 30 minutes. You are the industry expert, so you can talk about your topic. You don't have to have as polished content whenever it's a video podcast because it's more conversational. It's like this show here. There's a reason there's a reason why we do what we do here, because we believe it's the best way and the most efficient way to create the content and to fill our sales funnel. So we would have a 30-minute show each week where you are talking about a topic. You can be able to batch shoot this way in advance. And now for that 30 minutes of your time, I want you to understand all of the things that you can leverage from that 30 minutes of recording. Number one, you now will be able to have a long form video that you can post on YouTube. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. It's owned by Google. Google is obviously number one, but it is search engine indexable. So whenever you go to Google and you're searching for plumbing tips near me, or a plumber Owasso, or you're looking for how to unclog my sink, well, you can optimize your videos. So that way, not only does your business show up, but your videos show up. It just helps your overall ranking factors for all things, whatever your service is that you do. Second thing that you get is you get an audio version. So you'll be able to send this on things like Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Amazon Music, all the different audio versions that you have. The third thing that you're going to be able to do is then you're going to be able to take that long form YouTube video and cut it up into shorts. So easily, if you were talking about a topic for, 15 to 30 minutes, you're easily going to be able to take 3 to 5 shorts out of that. So now those shorts are going to be used on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, and you've got lots of short form content that you can produce. Then after that, you're going to be able to take that transcript from that video podcast and then that video embedded onto your website. So now you have another page of content on your website, which, like we talked about before on SEO, adding new, fresh, relevant content to your website is a huge ranking factor for helping you to increase in SEO. The other thing that you're going to be able to do is then you can take that content that you talked about in that transcript and you can use a tool like an AI copywriting tool and take that transcript and all of the things that you spoke about and then leverage that to create a blog article to, again, add to your website that adds your unique perspective on the subject. It's not just some regurgitated content that, you can just Google search yourself, but it helps it to create new and fresh content to your website. So that way, again, it's going to help it rank better. Then when all of these pieces of content that you're creating, the short forms, the long forms, the blogs, you are then taking the links to those articles, adding those to the post to drive back to the website. On the website, you're linking to the embed video of the YouTube, so linking back to there. And you're able to take that 30 minutes of filming time and leverage a ton of different content out of it. So that's the first big benefit to doing something like this. But most people right now, you're probably listening like, okay, well, yeah, that sounds good, but you don't understand my niche. Like, this wouldn't make sense. I'm a real estate agent, or I'm a plumber. Like, why would I want to make a podcast talking about this stuff? This is the thing that I don't think people think about to leverage this. So one of the biggest hurdles that there are with creating organic social content is expanding and growing your network. You see how other big time creators come around this is they start doing what's called a collaboration. So they start doing content with other creators to help expand their network. So that way the new network gets to see their content. And so it just expands both people's networks together. Well, that to me is one of the beauties of podcasting, is it's going to help expand your network. So let's say you were a local real estate agent and you were going to start let's say I'm here in Owasso, Oklahoma. So let's say you were a Owasso real estate agent and you wanted to start the Building Owasso podcast. Well, what you would do is on your podcast is you would be connecting with people that have your network. So think about whether it be a home builder, home repair people, business leaders in Owasso, and you are expanding your network because you're having them on your show. Well, guess what? When you have them on your show, then they are going to be a part of that social content that you create. So after it's done, you're sharing that content with them. They're posting it on their social channels, and it's able to then expand your network because they're taking all the stuff that was on the, Building Owasso podcast show, and they are now sharing it with their network. So it helps drive more traffic to your network, which then again drives more traffic to your website, which gets us more leads because we built this amazing sales funnel. It's going to help us capture and nurture these leads. That's the second thing. So first thing is it helps us to scale content creation. The second thing is it helps us expand our network. The third reason, and this is the other secret to the secret sauce, is getting in front of prospective customers and leads can be difficult if they think that you're going to sales pitch them. But what if you were able to bring a prospective customer onto a show so they could talk about themselves, how awesome they are. So then that way you could connect with them on a greater level. They're like, wow, let me come and expand my network on your show. And then the same concept applies. You're going to be leveraging their network to expand your content, but you just now spent 30 minutes connecting with a potential lead. So now it's a lot easier to follow back up. You've built this relationship to get them on a more serious sales call. So let's say you owned a investment company, like a syndicated investment firm, and there were some big investors that you wanted to get in front of. Well, they might not just take your calls normally, but if you had the Investing OKC podcast and you're talking about all the business development that's going on in the city, the excitement that's in the air, Well, how would they like to come on your show and talk about how they got started in syndicated investment deals and how they evaluated deals? Because everybody likes to come on and talk about themselves. And so by having a podcast show, a video content format like this, instead of just saying, hey, I would love to have coffee with you, or I would love to connect and see if we could maybe do a deal with you. Instead, you're going to have them come on your show. You're going to develop that relationship. You're going to get the content. So that way they're posting it on their network and your network. But then most importantly is you just spent about 30 minutes of quality time connecting with that person. So then you have that open door so you can follow up with them so you could get them as a client. So I think that this is a big opportunity by leveraging video podcasting, but it is not as easy as it sounds. There are a lot of steps. So I know what you're saying right now is like, okay, I get it. I understand the concept of it, but that still seems like a lot of work. I'm going to share with you guys just a few tools that I would use and recommend and how I would structure this. So that way I would make it as easy on myself as possible. So the very first thing that I would do if I were going to do this is I would use a very simple platform to help host the podcast. So Spotify actually has a free platform that you can use called Spotify Podcasters. You can create an account, create your show name, and then that way whenever you upload, and you can also with that, you can connect things like your Apple ID to open up to put out the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, all the different Google places and stuff like that. So that way, when you post it on just the Spotify, it distributes the podcast out on all the audio platforms. The next thing that I would do from that is you can go, if you're not super artistic or you don't have a team that does this for you, you can go to Canva and you could search for like podcast channel art. Create yourself something very, very simple to get this thing going. Because remember, with what the overall strategy with this and why people get overwhelmed with it is they're thinking by going into this, they're trying to make the next big, huge Joe Rogan style video podcast. That's not the goal with this. The goal with this is to drive traffic to the sales funnel. So yes, that would be awesome if it was the number one, real estate or plumbing podcast one day, but we're not doing that. That is the very, very long-term play if it even does happen. We're doing it for short-term gains as far as scaling content creation, expanding our network by connecting to other people that have our dream customers already, and networking with people that we want to have customers with. So the motive of which we're doing in is different. So don't overthink some of the things like creating channel artwork and stuff. Go to Canva. There's tons of templates on there. You can just really easily upload a headshot of yourself or something like that, throw your brand colors on it, upload it to Spotify Podcast, and then boom, you've got a podcast. The next thing that I would do is I would get an account for a tool that's called Riverside.fm. This is actually what we have all of our agency clients do that we produce their video podcast for them, as we have them record everything in Riverside FM. And it's a very, very simple platform. So it's really great, especially if you're doing guest interviews, to where you can create an account on there. It's all done via the web. So it's kind of similar to Zoom, but it's better than Zoom because how Riverside works is it actually does the cloud recording and a local recording on each device. So if your internet does skip out, glitch out, or anything after the final recording is done, it is also recording on each individual hard drive or computer device at the same time. It will then upload those devices those files to the cloud. So that way there's no glitches, skips, or anything like that in your content. Now, whenever you're doing this, whenever you're first starting out, don't worry about getting a nice camera, a nice microphone and stuff like that. You can do all of this stuff from your iPhone for whenever you're first starting out. Because remember, the whole goal about us doing this, scale content creation, expand our network, get in front of prospective customers, and ultimately driving traffic to our sales funnel. So don't worry too much about video quality and audio quality and stuff like that. As you get more comfortable with it, you can expand into it. But I see way too many people at the get-go trying to do way too much, buying all this gear, trying to get all stuck in all the technical things. You just got to turn the camera on and start pressing record and talking about what you do. So that's the second thing that I would do is I would get that Riverside tool. So after you have that, YouTube, it's free to create an account on YouTube where you can upload those videos, create your YouTube account, same thing, the podcast artwork, add it to YouTube. And YouTube now actually has a podcast playlist option. So as you're creating the podcast, you can also just easily upload the videos onto there, and it creates that podcast playlist on YouTube. So after you have those things, that's all you really need to do to get this thing started. Create an account on Spotify Podcasters, get a Riverside.fm account. I prefer that tool just because I think it's the easiest one to create the content. It will auto-generate the transcript for you. It has a version where it will also extract short-form clips. I'll be honest, it's not amazing, but if for just starting out, it might be a great option for you. We just have our video editing team like manually pull the clips so we can get a little bit higher quality clips. But yeah, it's a great tool for doing all of that stuff, and it makes it very simple to bring on host and then create a YouTube account. Now you have everything you need to actually start creating the content. Now the process for getting started, and where I see a lot of people getting hung up, is just like with anything with content creation, they're not able to be consistent about it. So what we actually do for our clients is we will actually have them create 12 episodes before you even start publishing. What that does is that will then give you, if you do a weekly show, that gives you 3-month buffer to kind of get your feet, underneath you and get caught up. So what you're going to do is you're going to record your first 12 episodes. And after you've recorded your 12th one, then you're going to start launching the podcast and go live with it and start dripping out the content. Doing this does take a lot of time, effort, and work in this initial setup phase to get it going. But once you have it going, if you stick to that schedule of doing 1 episode a week, or I have a lot of our clients where what they'll do is they'll just, on a Friday, they'll block out, 4 or 5 hours, and they'll knock out all their month's worth of content on one day. And then they're already 3 months ahead. So they're actually really recording that content and editing it for 4 months into the future. It makes it so much easier, again, to scale that content creation time. The other thing that I would say with all of it, though, is you have to be organized with your content. So we're going to create that 12 weeks of content, but how you actually go into creating that content is there's 2 things that I would do and recommend. Is number one, what I would do is I would start off with just a brain dump. So I would open up like a Google Excel spreadsheet, and I would just start creating a list of all of the topics of the things that you could talk about. Think about the most common FAQs of questions customers are asking you when people call in. What are the biggest issues, problems that people are reaching out to you for, and start writing all of those topics down. Or do you maybe have a process or a framework that you use in your business? You could make your first series of episodes being over those topics. So once you know the topics, well, then help yourself out, then start creating the framework for each episode. So with this, what I typically do is I've got a Google Doc set up. I know my topic that I'm going to be talking about, and then I will kind of give myself a few bullet points as I'm going through my episode to make sure that I hit everything. Or if you're doing an interview style episode, make sure you have your questions down before you have your guest come on. So that way, you know what 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 questions you're going to ask them. You already have those listed out on there. So you can do the exact same thing. And if you're doing more of an interview style show, instead of listing all of your topics and the content you're going to talk about, you could put down all of the guests that you want to bring on and then the questions that you want to have for them. So whenever you are able to get them booked on the show, you can already have all that stuff done. So that way it's a lot easier to knock all this stuff out. The whole point of doing this, remember, scale content creation, scale your time with better content creation. Then you're able to expand your network and then get in front of prospective customers. I will say, even though I think anyone can do this, I do realize that this is not for everyone. It is awkward. If you've never gotten on camera a lot and put yourself out there, it can feel awkward to do that. And so there's some of the things that you're just going to have to get over if you truly want to be an industry dominator. It does require a time commitment. It is going to require you to have at least 30 minutes per episode. And then if you have some type of a buffer by setup, let's say it's an hour per episode for a setup. So let's say 4 hours a month for content creation. But like I said, the amount of things that you can get for that 4 hours a month is amazing. You're going to be able to get, emails, blog articles, social media content, transcript pages, a podcast, YouTube, so many things for the ask of time. It's the best bang for your buck return on your investment of your time. This is honestly what we help a lot of our clients do. We have a package called Podcast Domination, to where we help local service-based businesses post, produce, and edit their video podcast. So all our clients have to do is they just have to press record. They send us the download link for their files on Riverside, and we do all that stuff for them. So what we'll do is we'll take that Riverside link. Like I said, we're going to turn that into a long-form YouTube video, the long-form audio version. We're going to post it on all the podcasting platforms in YouTube form. We're going to take that video. We're going to cut it up into about 3 to 5 short-form videos. We're going to give them the captions and copy to say so they can post it on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of that stuff. Then we're also going to post the shorts on YouTube for them with all the captions and everything done inside of there. We're then going to take that podcast. We're going to create a podcast page on the website. So we get another content page for that. And then based upon the topics, if they're teaching, if it's something that we could write content over for, like a blog, like they're teaching a topic, then they'll create another SEO page for them. But if it's an interview style podcast, we'll typically just leave it as a podcast transcript page. Then we will take the information that they talk about, turn it into an email to email out to their list to stay on top of their contacts each and every week, then pushing to the episode. We're able to do all of that for them, and all they have to do is press record. So if that's something you're interested in for your small business, we'd love the opportunity to talk to you. Just go to SeanGarner.co. The link's down here in the description. That's just one of the many agency services that we offer. Our whole goal with Sean Garner Consulting is to help small service local business owners grow their business and dominate their industry by building, filling, and optimizing sales funnels. This episode was all about one of the many tactics you can do to fill that sales funnel, and I hope that it added value to you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Please like, subscribe, all of the things if it is adding value to you so you can keep on top of all of this content. If you're a small business owner looking to grow and dominate, I'd love the opportunity to talk to you guys and see how we can serve you. So have an awesome day. We'll talk soon.